Schönen guten Morgen von unserer Seite. Ich glaube, viele waren gestern schon da. Wir machen unser kleines Intro heute sehr kurz. Mein Name ist Bürkner von Public Art München. Das ist Sabine Schalm vom Institut für Stadtgeschichte und Erinnerungskultur. Wir haben dieses Großprogramm Paar Statements, das quasi der Rahmen ist auch für diese schöne Kooperation mit dem Haus der Kunst entworfen und freuen uns sehr, sehr auf diesen zweiten Tag. Und wir machen hier so ein kleines Ping-Pong, das heißt, diesmal sage ich das auf Deutsch und Sabine übernimmt den englischen Teil und dann übergeben wir an Damian.
Du machst das wie du möchtest. Okay, hello from my side as well. I'm the one who's going to be the inviter for the English-speaking guests. A very well welcome this morning from us, from the host, Daniel Bürkner from the Department of Arts and Culture, the head of the Public Art Munich program. I'm Sabine Schalm. I'm in the Department of Arts and Culture, responsible with my team in the Institute for City History and Remembrance. And we always work very close together when it comes to memory culture in public space. And we both initiated this program, Past Statements, that we introduced to you yesterday already, and is also the ground for the wonderful cooperation with Haus der Kunst and for this forum today. So we are looking forward to this fantastic second day, and I hand over to Damian.
Hallo, guten Morgen. Schön, dass Sie alle da sind. Also ganz frisch, ganz früh beim Frühstück. Mein Name ist Damian Lentini, ich bin Kurator hier im Haus der Kunst. Ich sehe viele Gesichter, die ich gestern gesehen habe. Wie Sie alles wissen, hatten wir gestern einen sehr spannenden Tag mit vielen tolle Vorträge und so. Und heute haben wir auch ein genauso spannendes Programm für euch. Wir haben 3 Panels heute. 2 wurden von Haus der Kunst kuratiert sozusagen und eine von Nadia Ofalati-Alazad. Es geht um Themen und Erinnerungskultur, also nicht nur in München und Berlin, sondern auch in der Rest der Welt. Es gibt einige Art von Performances. Es gibt ein Eis-Event. Ja, Sie haben mich richtig verstanden, ein Eis-Event, es gibt Eis zur Verfügung. Wir haben Künstlerinnen, Philosophinnen, Kuratorinnen, ein Techniker auch dabei. Also wir bieten viele neue Perspektiven an. So wir fangen erst an mit einem Panel zum Thema Environments, AR, Air. Also um Städte, Orte, nicht nur Orte vor uns, sondern eigentlich im digitalen Raum. Danach haben wir diese tolle Panel von Nadia mit verschiedenen Perspektiven, also diese postkoloniale Perspektive. Und dann zum Schluss, wir haben ein Panel zum Thema Übertragung, Transmissions. Aber erst, wir brauchen eine kurze Zusammenfassung, was gestern passiert ist. Und auf diesen Grund, ich muss auch natürlich herzlich, willkommen zu unseren Ringleaders sozusagen. Magnus Elias Rosengarten, er leitet uns durch diesen gesamten Tag und er bindet alle diese verschiedenen Panels zusammen. Also, Magnus, bitte auf die Bühne.
Thank you so much, Damian. Romi is also coming. Ich mache noch ein ganz kurzes Statement auf Deutsch, weil die meisten Panels heute auf Englisch stattfinden werden. Haben wir auch Live-Übersetzung ins Deutsche für Sie und euch. Das heißt, wenn Sie Schwierigkeiten haben, das Englische zu verstehen, wenden Sie sich an unsere Übersetzer in den hinteren Reihen. Die winken gerade, wenn Sie sich einmal kurz umdrehen und die können dann mit Ihnen gemeinsam übersetzen. Genau. Jetzt bin ich aber sehr froh, dass ich Jana Bilir-Meier und Romi Crawford kurz auf der Bühne begrüßen darf. Please come on up, Romi. Because we thought that it's actually important to discuss a little bit what happened yesterday, and Jana and Romi convened our panels yesterday. Maybe, Jana, you start with Saboura together. You started yesterday with In Between Worlds, Zwischenwelten, and very much situated this discussion of monuments in the city of Munich. And maybe you give us a short summary of what happened, who you invited, and what the focal points really were.
Yeah, yesterday.
You have to turn it on.
Good morning, welcome everyone. Yeah, yesterday together with Saboura Naqshband, we planned for almost the last 4 or 5 months this panel together with Haus, Kunst, Kulturreferat München and Freispiel. And it's interesting because it's similar also to a little bit filmmaking, because I'm also a filmmaker. You plan and then at the end when you cut, you see how things work together and it becomes a story. And yeah, we were very impressed by the different positions which really focus mainly on Munich and different traces which are maybe also from hidden perspective, hidden histories, and to have a spotlight on local actors here, local artists, performer, musician, working also transnational.
Maybe you can describe a little bit who you invited and why you invited certain people and what contributions they could give to the discourse and also lacking perspectives, particularly when you think about the discourse and discussions that happen around monument and monument making in Munich and Bavaria too, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's also part of our research from Saboura. We both also from Munich, so we work also with local, or we are also activists and work in interdisciplinary fields. So this was knowledge from people who came, who researched many, many years on this topic. Some working over 28 years as musician, performer. So it's a rich knowledge from people really working long on these topics. And which was for us really important was also, I mean, every panel was strong and leads to each other. And we found also the third panel was very important and impressive because we invited the family members of the victim of the racist attack from Munich from 22 July 2016. So there was Gisela Kollmann and Samet Leila there, who really had strong demands also to the city of Munich and to society, what they wish and how do they feel. And I had the feeling this was a really strong dialogue and speaking, because what a lot of time happened, what we see also is that victims of right-wing terror in Germany, there's no dialogue. Like they speak and they say, let's invite us, we want to speak, we want to have a dialogue. But this is somehow not happening. I mean, it's a structural thing which happens already, that they say that they made to the perpetrators even immediately after the attack. So it starts with the police, with the structural system, how they are treated, and it's continuing. And this was important, for example, also when we saw the panel from Gersoy Dotash, how he shows that it's not a continuity only from which is important from the 60s, 70s, 80s in Germany, but also from 1638, from the war, die sogenannte Türkenkriege, and how it's already also still today in public space visible, but somehow invisible, but very powerful and violent. So this was kind of a strong start and connection.
A very strong start. Also, convening a very strong art historical research from Gersoy and then these artistic positions. And maybe, I know that you also formulated a little statement with Saboura, and if you want to read it out, I think we'd be happy to.
If it's okay, I will stand here because I would put my...
Sure, yes, stand up, speak.
So Saboura and I this morning, because I just got the information that yesterday that we're going to give a short summary, and as we made this panel together as a collective, I mean with everyone who was there yesterday was important. So Saboura and we formulated a little summary from us. The core of yesterday's event became clear in the third panel. In addition to art and culture, it's about the political message. Germany and the city of Munich can no longer deal with victims of right-wing violence in this way. This must change. We need a dignified memorial, grace of honor, street names, and financial and structural emotional reparations for the families and survivors of victims. You and everyone, and from the city of Munich, must all do something to ensure this will never happen again. The multi-perspective culture of remembrance that we want is about anti-racism, dealing with colonialism, the history of immigration, anti-Semitism, racism against Romja and Sinti, Black people, indigenous people, Asian, Kurdish people, Muslim, Alevi, and many more. And against any forms of sexism, anti-feminism, homo or transphobia or disability. We demand from the white majority society and our common institutions that they understand and learn how they are involved and how they have to take responsibility. Allocate resources not only on the intellectual level, but also on the emotional and structural level to bring about changes. We want and need a more society that based on solidarity. In the words of the writer and poet and activist Samra Ertan, as long as this not is the case, we must all resist.
Thank you so much, Jana. Thank you. Dankeschön. Romi, I think you organized yesterday one of the technically most challenging sessions, which was amazing. And you introduced and sort of showed us this idea of the Black Arts Movement school modality on alternative monument making, very much contextualized within the Black arts movement in the United States. You are a professor at the Art Institute of Chicago, and maybe you can introduce in a couple sentences in what way sort of this school is challenging our conventional notion of monument making and challenging this very idea of object and the static object of a monument.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's exactly the question, and I'm going to answer it in a way that's very in this moment and as a response to the statement that I just heard. As I think back about yesterday afternoon, there were several poignant moments, and these poignant moments, I think, speak to the question you ask about the Black Arts Movement school modality and what it can do. Mostly what it does is open up knowledge formations to improvisation and experimentation, which are two of the really important cues that we all get from the Black Arts Movement, an aesthetic genre and form of art making and movement that was active in the United States in the 1960s and 70s. And one of the key, so that happened for me yesterday when one of our panelists, Abiodun Oyewole, spoke to the moment in the present through a language of political urgency. And so I think that's one of the things that connected our two panels, if you will, this statement that you just made, and the moment when Abiodun Oyewole, who is who's a writer and poet and a member of the Last Poets music group, who is was an active participant in the Black Arts Movement in the 1960s and 70s, who's still active today as a thinker and a writer, et cetera. And really what he had to do yesterday was speak to things that are absolutely immediate, things that happened yesterday in our world. Violent acts. And so what the school modality does for me always, Magnus, is I have moments where I'm nervous because I'm like, oh, that's not the thing that was scripted. That's not on the curriculum. and that's
the professor in you, the teacher in you.
My God, I try to kill it. I need to kill that part of me. But it's exactly that this project is meant to elicit and pull out. And it's exactly that also that I learned from Black Arts Movement practitioners, that political piece is always comes through. And so I'm so glad that Abiodun Oyewole, did that, made that an urgency that had to be felt and articulated on our panel. I never know what's going to happen, but that needed to happen. And again, if you're following, this, it happens because it's a genre that that has a real adamant relationship to improvisation and experimentation. That's how he produces his poetry. That's how he produces his music. That's how he produces a relationship to the political, which is beyond Black culture. There is this huge fallacy that those of us who study and think about and articulate Black cultural practices don't have an investment in a wider scene of humanity. And so you saw that, you heard that. He's thinking about what's happening globally in the world. At other moments, some of the panelists, such as Fred Moten and Stefano Harney and Colleen Smith, and Fahim Majid and Mechthild Widrich, they all, I think, spoke to if there was something that showed up regularly, again, that I did not expect was going to be part of our offering, it was the significance of the natural environment as a sort of cue and indicator of how we might think through monumentation and monument making differently. So literally the natural environment. Some of you posited in an exercise with Mr. Oyewole the relationship to things like snow or animals, and that also stayed with me because I think that's hard. I can't even imagine a monument or commemoration that does that, but I think we have to do that hard work. It's called upon us to let the stable object that is so fixed to dissipate and unravel and disappear. And Fred Moten really got us to that place of absolute disappearance, thinking about the potential of translucence and the atmosphere and breaths and voice as part of monument making.
And embodying these sculptures ourselves, right? Yes. Yeah, this interactive session in the end was extremely beautiful, and I remember the sentence too, that we're monuments to each other in the end, no? And not externalizing always these grand narratives, particularly also in Munich of whiteness and German whiteness, which the society still is working through and has been working through for so long. And I think particularly us as communities of color and Black communities here in Germany, it's so hard to understand why they need so much time to work through their own history of whiteness. It's very difficult to understand. And I think that this interactive session yesterday was really teaching and showing us again how beautiful it is if we start embodying ourselves and not always externalizing the gaze to some like static objects and white men that are dead, basically, and not around anymore. So I want to thank both of you so much for starting the day yesterday and giving so much input. It was extremely beautiful. And I'm very much looking forward to the second day now. And I will hand over to Damian, I think, and he'll take us into the virtual digital realm. Thank you so much. Again, Cana and Romi.